Hello, everyone. Dumelang. Welcome to yet another intentional moment together where we're going to sit, reflect, and do all the mindful things. Today is our last one on one episode together. The launch of the guest episodes is finally happening. They launch next week Sunday, so I cannot wait for you guys to see them. A little bit nervous, but it is what it is. It's what we've been working for. It's what we've been blooming towards, right? We're going to do something a little different today. I thought, let's end the way that we started. Very intentional, very mindful, and checking in with ourselves. It is a big week for us next week. On the 10th of October, it is World Mental Health Day, and I thought that would be the perfect way to segue into journeying with others. So we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to do two things together today. We're going to read a little bit from this book from Michelle Obama, The Light That We Carry, Overcoming in Uncertain Times. I felt that when I was gifted this book by one of my best friends, the timing of the book was great, but the lessons I've learned throughout reading, I'm not done with it, but the lessons that I've learned have been so applicable to many seasons of my life. One of the chapters that I'll be reading to you for, I think, is very relevant for next week. And then I am going to read to you a letter, and it's titled A Letter to Our Mental Health. So I think these two things come together very well in acknowledging the importance of that day. Our mental health isn't only important in October for this month and on that day. Throughout the 8 episodes that we've been reflecting together and sitting together, we have come to really be cognizant of our mental health, of our mind, of our bodies, and the importance of regularly checking in, the importance of, taking initiative to do stuff for our mental health. But yeah, let's get into it. So the chapter that I like to share with you today is called Starting Kind. How many of us are mindful about how we start our day? How many of us are mindful about how we speak to ourselves? How many of us are mindful about starting with us first before we can pour into the world? And so let me get into it. I think it will be very self-explanatory, and it really changed my mindset and reminded me of a few things for myself, and I hope that it touches you in some way. So it reads, I have a friend named Ron who begins his day by saying hello to himself in the mirror. He does this without irony, and he often does it out loud. I learned about this not from Ron, but from his wife, Matrice. Matrice says that she has awoken to the sound of her husband delivering a hearty early morning greeting to his own reflection over the bathroom sink. Hey, buddy, is what he says. Matrice imitates him perfectly, as wives often do. And in her voice, channeling his voice, you can hear the blast of fresh affection Ron finds for himself at the start of a new day. He is full of warmth. It sounds as if he's saying hello to a beloved co-worker or an old friend who's turned up out of the blue. As if he's pleasantly surprised by the person who has shown up to join him for whatever the day holds in store. Matrice says that even for her, overhearing these words from bed is the best way to wake up. The first time she mentioned this little habit of Ron's, I laughed. It was funny in part because I could imagine it so easily. Ron is a straight-up, brilliant and successful man, someone to whom other people are instantly drawn. He's confident without being preening. He exudes warmth and charisma and self-assurance. He's been the mayor of a large city. He has beautiful children and a happy family. He's got a big smile, an easy bearing, and an enviable amount of poise. As I thought about it, though, I realized that Ron's "Hey buddy" was more than just an amusing practice. I think there's something important about this type of habit. It's a glimpse of someone looking into his poise, someone choosing to begin the day with kindness towards himself. Ron, of course, is a man, and as such, we can probably assume that he arrives at the mirror with far fewer hang-ups about his appearance than many of us are conditioned to bring to it. For a lot of people, especially those who are not men, the mirror can be a scary place. Many of us find it tough to approach with any sort of ease, especially first thing in the morning. We can be reflexively harsh in our self-appraisal. We have often absorbed negative comments about our looks, messages that leave us feeling objectified, unworthy, or unseen. Women are also consistently held to higher standards when it comes to grooming and style. We're requiring more elaborate, more expensive, and more time-consuming preparation before feeling comfortable, heading to work, or even just stepping out into a new day. I personally have plenty of mornings when I flip on the bathroom light, take one look, and desperately want to flip it off again. Face to face with myself, I'll impulsively start in on cataloging my flaws, seeing only what's dry and puffy, recognizing only the parts of me that could and should be better. In assessing myself, I instantly alienate myself. I start my day divided, one part of me a critic, the other a clown. One of us bites, the other hurts. The feeling is decidedly bad. It's hard to shake off. And that's what I want to talk about here, the possibility of starting kind. I would guess that, like the rest of us, my pal Ron often shows up tired and puffy at the mirror. He too has plenty of flaws that surely beg to be inspected and scrutinized. But what he sees first, what he chooses to recognize is a whole person, someone he's genuinely glad to see. Unlike a lot of us, Ron has figured out that self-loathing is hardly a good starting block from which to launch a new day. Ron's "Hey buddy" has a certain quiet potency. It's self-efficient, free of false bravado, and private, or it was until Matrice told me about it. Most importantly, it's not an assessment. It doesn't invite any sort of follow-up like "you look like crap" or "why can't you do more?" Standing at the mirror, Ron is redirecting any impulse to judge or self-denigrate. He refuses to seize on self-criticism and begins instead with a simple message of compassion and approval. If you think about it, this is exactly the sort of thing many of us rather desperately try to wring out of other people, parents, teachers, bosses, lovers, and so on, and then end up feeling crushed when we don't get it. For me, part of the beauty of "Hey buddy" is that it's not terribly ambitious. It doesn't really count as a pep talk. It requires no passion or eloquence, nor any sort of belief that the day ahead will be stellar, full of new opportunities and positive growth. It is merely a friendly hello, 2 words delivered in a warm tone. And for this reason, maybe it's something more of us could try to do. So I'm going to skip a few bits and continue to read where it's relevant. So let's return to Ron saying hello to himself at the start of a new day. His 2 words delivered in a warm tone. He is making a point of putting his gladness out front and up first, dropping it in ahead of judgment. And with it, he becomes literally self-assured. It's easy to forget that we can do this for ourselves. We are capable of making a home delivery of approval and kindness, even to the weary and imperfect person who appears before us in the mirror. We can acknowledge our own light, our sense of what is. Many books have been written about the power of gratitude, and for good reason. It works. It doesn't take all that much, really. Maybe just some practice. Maybe getting more deliberate about noticing the reflex to tear yourself down, how quickly those thoughts arrive, and making a point of replacing them with your own gentle form of "hey buddy," whatever that may be. I have been trying recently to wake up in the morning and give myself some sort of deliberately kind start, to consciously and intentionally take the first self-denigrating or negatively tinged thought that arrives in my head and slide it off to one side. Then I invite a second thought, a better and more tender one, something more intentional, more friendly to self. And I choose that as my launching point. My second thought is usually pretty simple. Often, it's just a quiet but grateful acknowledgement that I have made it once again to starting. Often, it's just a quiet but grateful acknowledgement that I have made it once again to the starting line of a new day. Remember that the bar is pretty low. Starting kind does not necessarily mean starting grand. You don't need to make any declarations about what you're going to do in a day, discover some deep new wild confidence, or pretend that you're invincible. None of this has to be done out loud, and it definitely does not need to be done in front of the mirror. You're just trying, one way or another, to box out the inner critic and push your gladness up front, to meet your own gaze, even metaphorically, with some small speck of warmth, to utter some sort of friendly hello. Maybe it takes getting over a little self-consciousness, or perhaps a chuckling spouse in the next room. In any event, Ron's still at it. He gets up in the morning and he raises something powerful and stabilizes from within. He greets himself with a message that says, "You are here," and that's a happy miracle, so let's get after it. Which to me is a beautiful thing. So, that is a lot. And that is not the whole chapter. But I remember reading that chapter a few months ago, and it resonated with me how quickly I had forgotten in that moment, in that season, being in a precious time of my life, how I wasn't being kind to myself. It reminded me how to be cognizant of how I start my days, because they do set the tone. It reminded me how challenging it is to be mindful, especially as you open your eyes. It reminded me how nobody's gonna do it for me, and how hard that reality is, that I won't always have somebody to start my day off on a positive note. Depending who you stay with, what your living circumstances are, you may be the only person who has the ability to show up for you or determine the little habits that you can practice. "Hey buddy" is such a short and concise way to acknowledge yourself, to say you're important, like it said in the book, to say "I am here," and that's a miracle, and let's go at it. This applies to our mental health as well. Saying, "Hey, I see you. You're not where I need you to be. You're not where you used to be. I don't know where you are. You're in a great place perhaps," but to acknowledge it. This chapter speaks so much to me. This book speaks so much to me because it aligns with the values of what this is even. It aligns with the values of how important it is to create space for you in a world that's ever moving, so many things that just are experienced as an influx. How adulthood is just hard, how adolescence is just such a whirlwind, how different phases of aging and growing and living can be challenging, and how we can't offer people what we can't even offer ourselves. How am I going to offer kindness out there when I don't have it for myself in here? I'm definitely somebody that used to wake up not cognizant of how I'm waking up, what I'm saying, noticed how I just even not out loud, but just the thoughts I had were just complaints. I'm already starting the day. I haven't even greeted myself. And since, picking up this book, I have started practicing again the habit of I start with me, I start with the divine, and I gradually move to every other space that I need to. And when I look in the mirror, because I do, whilst I'm brushing my teeth, I have my own habits of hey buddy. And yeah, so that's just something to think about. And perhaps we each can think of, after this episode, what our hey buddy practices in the morning and in the evening and during the day can be. But starting the day kind, and like I said, with World Mental Health Day coming up, that is just a reminder of taking care of you. Okay, so in continuation of this episode where we're doing things differently, I'm going to get into our letter that I wrote for us on behalf of all of us. It comes from just sitting and reflecting on my own mental health, where I've come from, the journey to this point, not just this year, but also recently. It comes from those around me and where their mental health is pitching at the moment. Some are doing fine, some are not doing great. It comes from the annual reminder of the importance of this. It comes from my job. For me, it's not something that switches off. It can't. It's a daily thing for me. It comes from the many feedbacks that I've gotten from you, from clients, about where people are, how they are doing. And I thought, let's write a letter to our mental health. And so I've mixed those experiences. They're not my personal experiences. I've mixed everybody's experiences. And I hope this letter speaks to all of us. And it reads, a letter to our mental health. As we approach World Mental Health Day, navigating through a series of atrocities and media every day, everywhere, I want to speak life into our important organ, our brain, our mind. Let me first start by saying, mind, you matter. You matter not only on this specific day, you matter beyond this month, you matter every day. Dear mind, I want you to know that we are grateful that you carry us every day. You have been functioning since we were in the womb. You have been director of operations despite all the circumstances that make it challenging for you to function. Today, we approach you with gratitude. Some days we forget you, yet you still show up for us. You function. Some days we feel like we are losing you, yet you show up and function. For some, you have had moments of zero capacity. In these recent times, many feel how stretched your capacity has become. Thank you for showing up. Mind, we know that you are often tired. We know that you often want to completely shut down. Yet here you are, even right in this moment, functioning. Ours is not to judge you for how you are showing up right now. Ours is to simply acknowledge where you are, observe what's going on, and make space for it. For some, you might need us to check what you need. We have heard that there are people who specialize specifically in issues pertaining to you. For others, you may need us to sleep and rest. For some days we find that challenging to do. There's a lot going on. You might need extra help. There is extra help out there. We will do our best to get it. Perhaps you need us to cry. Release that which constantly circulates as never-ending thoughts. Sometimes you instruct our bodies to help you carry the load. We feel a lump in our throats, a pit in our stomachs, physical exhaustion, and no sense of hunger. There are days where we struggle to feed you for long periods of time. Mind, we know you need energy. Thank you for working so hard to slow down our pounding heart rates. You've exhausted yourself trying to restore our breathlessness. You've been willingly and unwillingly exposed to unpleasant images and content. And now sometimes you see those images flash back even when you don't want them to. Sometimes you even forget things you want and need to remember. Sometimes you feel you struggling. Sometimes we feel you struggling to concentrate on things that are important to you. When things have felt really hopeless and helpless, for some, you've had moments and seasons of thinking about a permanent way of ending your suffering. Mind, we know it can get really tough and complicated for you. Sometimes you feel yourself being drawn to doing things over and over repeatedly to get a sense of safety and relief. We see you instruct your fingers to press the light switch multiple times before you feel ready to sleep. We witness you feel a crippling sense of anxiety in enclosed spaces. It feels like the walls are closing in for you. We see the freedom and relief you feel when you escape. Things can get so bad for you that you sometimes take substances to numb or escape your struggles. Oh dear mind, we see your struggle. So we're going to try our best to help you. We're going to see if it helps you when we ask for help. This can be a tough thing for us to do sometimes. And sometimes we don't know where to start to ask for help. Sometimes it feels like no one or nothing can help us because we've tried, because you've tried. You've been trying, mind. Perhaps we will start with a trusted family member or a friend. Sometimes we are so isolated and scared, we might need to take you to a medical doctor instead. There have been times where we balance the many chemicals connected to your functioning, and it helps. Sometimes you need medication. Oh dear mind, we know you are tired. Oh dear mind, we know you wish it was different. Let's keep trying and see what you need. Let's journey together and see what's out there. Rumor has it, you sometimes do well with psychologists and or psychiatrists. Oh dear mind, that's a lot to even think about. You are already processing so much. Let's take a deep breath together and remind you that it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel conflicted. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to feel confused. It's okay to not know. It's okay to feel multiple things at the same time, because multiple things can be true at the same time. Oh dear mind, you're sitting with a lot. We are sitting here with you today so that you are not alone. We are consciously creating space for you because you are important. You matter. We are pushing ourselves to be intentional for you because we appreciate you, because both you and us deserve to be healthy. Both you and us deserve to be healthy. Oh dear mind, let's see what it is that you need. Depending on your owner, prayer sometimes is welcomed and helps you. And sometimes you need it all. Whichever one works for you, mind, today we are taking a moment to try. Oh dear mind, perhaps you are tired of trying, but that is what today is about. You don't have to try alone. We are sitting here together right now. Can you see us all, bum on the surface? Focus on that for a moment. Your bum on the surface. Just focus on that for a moment. How does the bum feel on the surface? Mind, focus on what kind of surface it is. Is it soft? Is it cushioned? Is it hard? Is it uncomfortable? Perhaps you would benefit from instructing the body to stretch. Look around you. What are your eyes showing you? Is it the sky, the plant, the kitchen? Oh dear mind, sometimes it's too much to look around us. Instruct the eyes to close. What images and shapes and colors and movements do you see or imagine? Take a moment. You are so creative in how you navigate things. Can you see all the things you're seeing and imagining? Dear mind, ask the ears what they can hear right now. Focus on that for a moment. What about what the nose can smell? Interesting. Mind, you just told me to focus on my tongue. Let's be curious about what we can taste. Oh dear mind, you are so calming to be around right now. Let's take a long, deep breath together. And another one. Again. Let's take a long deep breath together, because we know that that sometimes helps you. Oh dear mind, thank you. Thank you for carrying us. Thank you for seeing us through. We're going to check in on you every day to see how you are doing, to see what it is that you might need for the day, because mind, you matter and we love you. And today, folks, that is us for the day. I don't feel the need to elaborate on anything. I don't feel the need to say anything more. I think today's exercises and the way of conducting today's episode speaks for itself. And I think it's appropriate that I leave you be. I will be thinking of everyone on the 10th. I will be thinking of everyone on the 7th of October. Those who know what that means. I am thinking of everyone daily who's experiencing real trauma in real time. I am thinking of all of us who've had to navigate things that we know and don't know about, things we've shared and things we haven't shared this year. And I really hope that as you have journeyed through these 8 moments of consciousness and being cognizant and carving out space for yourself, that as we now journey into a different way of being together, that you don't forget where we started, that you don't forget that we started on this phone with all the background noise and all the things that are not podcast like. And don't lose the habit of Sundays. Don't lose the habit of your 40 minutes. Don't feel alone, because we will still be doing it together. It will just be in a different way in regards to this platform, but it will be the same in regards to where we are on Sundays in our 40 minutes. I'm still going to do my 40 minutes. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the engagement. Whatever this does for you, I cannot even begin to share what you guys as a community do for me as you hold space for me. I look forward to next week. I'll see you soon.